Hello, level casters. Welcome to your weekly news update. We're here to help you improve your English while staying informed about important events around the world. Let's dive into the headlines for the week of July 13, 2026. News 1 of 26. First, we have an update on the Louvre heist. The person believed to be the mastermind behind the robbery in October 2025 has been identified. It seems that the damaged, gem-covered crown, once worn by Empress Eugenie in the 19th century, was only the beginning of their criminal activities. This story highlights the ongoing challenge of protecting valuable historical items from theft and damage. News 2 of 26. Next, a Swedish member of the European Parliament, Abir Al-Salani, has filed a police complaint. She accuses a Danish colleague of using racist hate speech. This happened after Ms. Al-Salani spoke out against anti-immigration chants in the European Parliament. This event shows the serious issues of racism and hate speech that can appear in political discussions, even at a high level. News 3 of 26. Moving to a serious international conflict, the situation between the US and Iran has become more intense. After new US attacks, Iran launched its own strikes, hitting airports and bridges. At the same time, US forces boarded a ship during efforts to block ports. Sadly, 2 US soldiers were killed and 1 is missing in Jordan after these Iranian attacks. Tehran claims it also destroyed US fighter jets. This situation shows a dangerous increase in fighting. News 4 of 26. In the UK, a sad report from the Refugee Council states that more than 16,000 refugees cannot reunite with their families. The system for family reunion has been stopped, leaving many people stuck in dangerous places or forced to use illegal methods to reach safety. This situation causes great difficulty for families trying to find safety and be together. News 5 of 26. Now, let's talk about the environment in Jakarta, Indonesia. This city is one of the world's largest, and it faces a huge problem with waste. The Bantar Gebang landfill, Jakarta's biggest rubbish dump, is growing into garbage mountains. Thousands of waste pickers earn a living there. The Indonesian government is trying to find ways to manage this enormous amount of trash. News 6 of 26. The head of the European Union has promised to ban social media for young children. Ursula von der Leyen made this commitment after a group of experts suggested restricting social media for children under 13 years old. The goal is to protect children from what are called predatory algorithms, which are computer programs designed to keep users engaged, sometimes in harmful ways. News 7 of 26. Tragically, a British couple, Pete and Fran Gillam, have been identified among the 13 people killed in wildfires in Spain. Authorities are using DNA samples to identify all the victims of the fire in Almeria. This news reminds us of the terrible human cost of natural disasters like wildfires. News 8 of 26. In other news, Ukraine and 9 other countries, including the UK, have announced a plan to build a shared European anti-ballistic program. This coalition of the willing made a joint statement as their leaders met with Volodymyr Zelensky in Paris. This program aims to protect against missile attacks, showing a united effort for security in Europe. News 9 of 26. Israel has set a date in October for its first elections since the Hamas attacks in 2023. This vote will allow Israeli citizens to decide if they support Benjamin Netanyahu and how he has managed the conflicts in Gaza and Iran. Elections are an important way for people to have a say in their government. News 10 of 26. France has deployed a large number of security personnel, 70,000, for Bastille Day celebrations and a World Cup semi-final match. The Interior Minister stated that no unruly behavior will be tolerated after the match. This shows the government's strong effort to maintain public order during big events. News 11 of 26. The European Union has rejected claims from the Trump administration. The U.S. government said that the International Criminal Court, or ICC, threatens U.S. sovereignty. The U.S. wants to systematically disable this court, which is based in The Hague. The EU's stance highlights different views on international law and how countries should interact with global courts. News 12 of 26. A letter published in the news discusses the UK and international law, using Palestine as an example. Peers, former ambassadors, and senior lawyers believe that Israel must be held responsible for its actions in Gaza and the West Bank. This letter raises important questions about international justice and human rights. News 13 of 26. In Germany, many young people are choosing not to join the military. Almost 6,000 young men have asked to be excused from service for moral or religious reasons, even with a new, conscription light, policy. This trend is happening as Berlin tries to make its army stronger. News 14 of 26. A briefing on Friday focused on whether violence against politicians is changing democracy in the UK. The newsletter explained that years of increasing hostility have turned political work from a public service into a personal risk. This situation moves members of parliament even further away from the people they represent. News 15 of 26. Sadly, killings are continuing on a Del Monte farm in Kenya, according to families. This is happening even after the company G4S was hired for security. Exclusive reports state that 3 men have been killed in the past year in incidents that allegedly involved G4S guards. These guards replaced the farm's original security team after earlier deaths. News 16 of 26. In Australia, the Melbourne Council has voted to stop using Lime electric bikes. The City of Yarra councillors ended the trial, saying that the company did not meet bare minimum standards. They claim Lime has not done enough to prevent the bikes from being dumped or misused. News 17 of 26. The arrest of an American man, James Fergie Chambers, has caused concerns about growing repression from Trump. Mr. Chambers has given $1 million in aid to Palestine. An extradition request for him has sparked fears that the U.S. government is confusing humanitarian help with terrorism. News 18 of 26. Regarding the Ukraine war, protests are continuing over the dismissal of Fedorov, Ukraine's defense minister. This outrage overshadowed Starmer's final visit as prime minister, with demonstrations in Lviv and Kyiv. Zelensky is trying to fix problems with Poland, while Moscow warns that foreign troops in Ukraine would be considered legitimate targets. News 19 of 26. Wildfire smoke from North America continues to spread, leading to air quality warnings. Smoke from northern Ontario, Canada, is covering the U.S., making Toronto's air quality among the worst in the world. Rain might help conditions in some areas, and the World Cup final is still expected to happen on Sunday. News 20 of 26. Trump's Board of Peace has changed its full Gaza recovery plan. Instead, they now have a very small pilot scheme. The revised plan aims to keep something going, because there are worries that Netanyahu might start a new, full-scale attack before the Israeli elections. News 21 of 26. Israeli ministers have announced plans for new illegal settlements in Gaza and the West Bank. The defense minister wants to establish 3 new outposts, called Nahal, in Gaza. A top commander says Israel now controls 65% of the Gaza Strip, which goes against the Trump ceasefire deal. News 22 of 26. In an update on the Ukraine war, strikes have destroyed Russian warehouses believed to be used for drones. Ukraine hit Wildberries logistics centers in the Moscow and Tambov regions. There is also a video showing an attempt at a contract killing in Monaco. This is what we know on day 1607 of the conflict. News 23 of 26. In a sign of improving relations, the Bayeux Tapestry's arrival in the UK is seen as closing the loop on Brexit tensions. Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy was among the first to see the famous embroidery being unpacked at the British Museum. This event is considered an important moment in diplomacy between Britain and France. News 24 of 26. Letters to the editor have discussed disability benefits. Susan Randall commented on Stephen Tim's PIP review and people with long-term mental illness. Ruth Lister argued that Social Security spending should not be called welfare. Other letters from Luke Howard and Katie Mead also contributed to this discussion about important social policies. News 25 of 26. Top House Democrats have promised to oppose any attempt to cut U.S. military aid to Israel. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries called a proposed amendment overly broad. This shows the party's struggle with strong reactions regarding Israel. News 26 of 26. Finally, Germany has warned the U.S. against interfering in its elections. This warning comes after the U.S. launched a scheme offering grants of up to $3 million in Europe. These grants aim to address issues like sovereignty, migration, and censorship. Friedrich Merz responded to this U.S. project, which is linked to the MAGA political movement. That's all for this week's news on Levelcast. Keep practicing your English, and we'll be back with more global updates next time.